Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Serena, and in today's video we're going to be making a 1950s skirt suit pattern featuring a waistcoat much like the one behind me. If you are interested in seeing how I complete this project, go ahead and like and subscribe. Before I get any further, we have hit over 10,000 subscribers on this channel and I am blown away. I am thrilled with all of the support and I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys have literally shown up and been commenting and keeping this channel buzzing. All of your comments and likes really do make a huge difference in my channel being able to be seen by other people and fall in favor with the algorithm. So I want to thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me to share what it is that I do and that you guys are actually enjoying it. If you'd like to support me further, you can leave me a virtual tip on Ko-fi, and I'll leave the information in the description bar below. You can also follow me in real time at SewRena_. And now let's get into the video. The pattern I'm using today is Simplicity 3981. It is a waistcoat and skirt pattern. The waistcoat comes in two views, one that has bias tape and the other that has a collar and is faced. I'm using view 1. This view is a quilted version. I've made it once before and I'm going to make it again. This time I'm going to make it with a full circle skirt instead of a half. This is a quick to make pattern and I actually have to agree with this. As long as you don't do anything too extra like I plan on doing, you can get this done really quickly. I think I got it done really quick the first time, maybe within a day. Here's the back, the fabric requirements, and the pattern pieces. For my fabric, I'm going with a pale pink pre-quilted cotton, and because I can't just make anything solid, I'm going with a candy cane striped bias tape to give it that little bit of extra whimsy and wonder. This is one of the few examples where you can have exposed bias tape and it actually complements the outfit and doesn't make it look apronly. Now for the embellishments. This is going to be an applique skirt. So here are the appliques that I've already made, and we are going with a baking theme. This theme is really special to me because I went out of my way to tell a story of this Christmas, but I wanted to do it in cookie form. So each cookie or motif represents some activity that I want to do this winter with my kids. So here I am adding some liquid stitch to the pieces. This usually doesn't work for me, but I found that you have to really glob it on and it sticks better when it's not felt to felt. Since it's felt to cotton, it seems to be working better. Now I am going over with some fabric paint and adding some extra details to my gingerbread men. And then once everything is tacked down, I'm going with the sewing machine to zigzag stitch the perimeter of all of my appliques. I also do some by hand, as you'll see in the other clip. I use the liquid stitch to hold down the smaller pieces. Using too many pins to me sometimes hurts. If you know, then you know. And so I decided to give liquid stitch another chance. I do find hot glue to be easier because it sets faster. I set these overnight so I didn't have to worry about it drying, but the liquid stitch is easier to sew through. Appliques with a lot of beading on it is a little bit harder to pin, so gluing those down and then sewing the perimeter by hand makes things a little bit easier. I personally love when applique skirts have really fun pockets that kind of blend in with the theme, so I made a set of 3 mixing bowls for my pocket and I'm just zigzagging around the perimeter. This is the second Christmas in our new home and I was getting a little bit of homesickness because we have so many memories in our first house, especially around the holidays. So this skirt serves to be a reminder to actually get out and do things and create those memories that I can look back on. So hopefully next year I can look back on this year's memories instead of still looking back on the memories we created before. I prefer to work on my circle skirts in 2 halves. It makes sewing on the appliques a little easier. So now I am sewing up the side seams and making the skirt one whole circle. And in the next clip, I'm going to show you what the front and the back looks like. This is the front. I have a cookie sheet and a cookie cutter. And then on the back, a stand mixer and a gingerbread house because yes, guys, I did make the mid-century gingerbread house. Now it's time to work on the waistcoat, waistcoat, or vest, whatever it is that you call it. The pattern calls it a waistcoat, so that's what we'll be calling it for the remainder of this video. And I really like waistcoat patterns. They're perfect for scrap busting. And in this case, it's even easier because you don't have to finish the raw edges. You'll be using bias tape to finish it. I did make a slight adjustment to this pattern. I reduced the waist length by 1/4 of an inch because I have a shorter torso, but also I will be defining the waist a little by doing a technique that I've never done before but decided to give a try, and that was to add a bit of foam to the lower end of the waistcoat beneath the waistline, so that way I could really define the hip on this garment. I do not have hips, which I'm perfectly okay with, but I did want to start playing and working with some structure to create some of the shape and lines that the pattern shows. And there is nothing wrong with adding padding and creating the shape that you want. Structure, I think, is something that you could really be proud of when you're able to put it into the garment. And so I decided to just give that a try and experiment with it, and that's what I did on this one. I really enjoy making suits. It's one of my favorite style or types of projects, so it was cool to experiment on something with as little fabric requirement as the waistcoat, because if it didn't work out, it's an easier fix and a cheaper fabric. And I think it actually worked out. So in the next couple clips, I'll actually show you how I achieved it, but I just wanted to give a little bit of an explanation of why it is that I did add the foam. And I especially wanted you to see how structure can be created, because sometimes the pattern art can be a little deceptive, and I want people to know that you can build the shape you want. So here I am using a little bit of sew-in interfacing to trace the waist seam and everything beneath it. This includes the bottom of the darts because you want the foam to take on the shape that the lower end of the waistcoat was designed for. I have seen external pads for this purpose, and I'll pop in a picture if I can find it, but I didn't want to have to worry about that because the waistcoat is quite short. So if I wore padding, then you'd probably see it. I also plan on wearing this for a lot of winter activities like ice skating, so I didn't want to have too many moving parts going on under my garment, just in case things started shifting around and then I had a pad in front of my stomach and one directly above my butt. So I just went ahead and added the cushion into the structure of the garment. The pattern does account for that hip flare, but it's only defined if you actually have hips, and so having a small waist is not enough. So if you do have hips, you can definitely skip this. I just wanted there to be an alternative for thinner people like me, or even someone who just needs the definition between their waist and their hip. When girdles and corsets don't do anything to take in a space, you can always just pad instead, and that's what works for me. I have no desire to reduce my waist size, so making everything around it look bigger helps with creating illusions. I had this foam lying around my room, so I'll have to pop in the brand somewhere if I can find it, and I sew in all the darts, and then I just hand stitch with some really wide whip stitches in the back of the waistcoat so it doesn't go through to the front and you can see it. Once this is attached, I start sewing up the lining. You'll recognize this lining fabric from my very last video. I had some scrap fabric left over, so I decided to add some more print because, you know, we love print around here. The lining is constructed exactly the way that the outer waistcoat is constructed. So I start with all of the darts, and then I sew up the side seams. Nothing is different with this. You have to ease in the shoulders, which I didn't mention before, but you have to ease the shoulders in, but not by much. And then after that, you will sew the two pieces together, wrong side to wrong side. Don't forget to press all of your seams and clip all of your rounded corners so that way the darts lay flat against your waist. Here I am basting the lining to the outer shell, and I'm just going around the perimeter with the stitch within the seam allowance, like just within the seam allowance, because you want to make sure that that stitch can't be seen once you put your bias tape on there. Now, because I did use the foam on the lower edge to reduce the bulk when I put the bias tape on, I do go in after this and cut down the foam right to the stitching line, so that way the bias tape on the bottom of the West kit isn't bulky, because of course it has to fold over the edge. So you want that to still lay as flat as possible. And here I am sewing on the bias tape. This is a really simple process. You do have to be careful of those corners and make sure that you make very clean and smooth miters. I didn't do that on the first one because I was a little confused on how to get my miters just right, and the pattern does not go into detail on the instructions on how to do that. But of course, it's been a year since I did this last, so you just pick up some things as you go, and that's how progress works. Now I'm adding in the last of my buttonholes using my Singer Professional buttonholer. I will do a demo on this eventually. I just don't know where it will fit into my schedule, since it'll probably be a really short video. But I do want to share this since it's a very helpful tool and one I use a lot. Here it's time for embellishments. So I got some really long bugle or bugle beads for some sprinkles, and I didn't have an option for pastel colors, so I am just placing the beads where I want them, and I like doing it flat so that way I can tell or make sure that the pieces are spread out and there aren't too many beads in one section. I don't want to take up all of the negative space, so this is the way I lay it out, and then I go back in and hand sew each of them individually. This process took so long because my beads are so spaced out, and so I spent a good bit of the night doing this. This is why you see me in my pajamas, because I was already pre-ready for bed for whenever I got super tired. Once the beading on the skirt was done, it was time to add the buttons to the West kit, and I went with some gingerbread buttons. They are so stinking cute. One has a heart on the chest and the other is plain, so I alternated them. Since I had 6, there's 3 of each. Now let's get into some of the detailed shots. Here are the gingerbread buttons, and then I want to get a close-up on that detailed waist and hip. It will look even better once I put the petticoats underneath the skirt. I did go with a full circle skirt. I don't know if I mentioned that before. The original pattern has more of like a half circle skirt. And here are the sprinkles, and you have the raw dough on the cookie sheet and the baked cookies, the back of the skirt. And again, please subscribe if you want to see me make this gingerbread house in real life. I'm so excited. That video has already been recorded, and I think it's going to be a tradition on this channel to make one every year and get better. Before the reveal, I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison of the 2 West kits, one with the structure and one without. The one on the right is the first one that I made. You can see already that the one on the left has more structure, but also I wanted to note that the dress forms are 2 different sizes. The one on the left is closer to my size. It's a professional dress form. The other one's a display dress form and has a lot of just shape to it. So here you can see how lopsided and kind of soft the West kit hips are on this side. And you can see where the shape was sewn into it, but there's no real structure holding that shape like on the other one. So the foam really made a difference, and I really love it, and I'm glad with how it turned out. I can't wait to make a whole suit jacket with this technique. I would have loved to show the entire suits together, but the dress form on the right is just too big, so my skirt could not even fit on it, especially with the shoulders. So I had to just show it this way. Now it is time for the reveal. I could not find my mock turtleneck to save my life, so I had to use this white blouse instead. And it's also raining, so I'm not wearing any heels. But this is how it looks, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. I think it's going to be very fun to wear. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out my other social media and my Ko-fi page, and I will see you in the next one. I'm so excited for the new videos.